Berchish wuchin chasati yach ak yach owe ohan achua icht idee kach owe achua ohan gwell kwanlin gwell guchsat sheet ka guchsatse so yohan guchsa ye yeti daka ani sa okay. Yeah, we shkalneek dat ye jigach tune shukwa a wooch kinach gach tu ya Yéil kachan gwelltanas dech a has du X'éig ayakach shikit yata kaski chukin shach usatian ka kid ya nai hu oe chukanedi ya chudachnach awe yak shkalneek we Yéil gwallisaku Yukhiskul Kayakawe the car ku owe a yawadlach we Yéil aka awe we Kayaaní a shkalneek the car go Yukhiskul Kayak Yéil chats tunach ya qitchtil aka awe Kayaaní au shiyech we yachtine a ETA anu ana ud has to ani de unangan ani we khata kach ayaye wutien au satin we yatluk sha aka awe yashkalneek achto asagu wuchina ya gachtu tu aka adaye jigachtune wuchin ayaye jigachtune an katunigit ya du adisa du to asagu shukwa itu guk
Xalaya. Ya ʼaan kayaku dachawe. Llyllia dasa a iti I wuti. Llyngytani kach challakal kwa ka I wuti. Yachan. Kera yachan a tuye wutien ya as kaya wask.
Yeah. Was the kawahai at ayu dekide do a team anach ke akagaji bechan ayayidat idekinach ke kaganji an ayaya yande asaya he yayande.
Awes do it at and away ugut ne you de kidi she dak idakin you khan ach jinach yan yasayek an ayu you de kinach he kaganch hada llech ade llech ach tu usgu lle you yandus ketch.
Anani sawe kalk antu gut aya kalk aya dullu aya yat shugunuk ya kalk awe ya adame you atlu de awe kausifat wet tlelku a
Gans techa rawatsi ashuk kawaja yukan tuk idekin atuk deka tayin eslinget on it ya X'éig ayo Yéil dakuda Canada ashkayak dechudekachat watek.
Aya gwelltlach ya dak de awe aksechat tlach ya du wak chande galtut aya adatin ya nak llu ya kak chat gut ha hada a de dak edakin.
يا خد أخوني خد إدشي يخان دي داك إدقين تلقي عن آده أخجيس يا آن يا قس يقيه يخان إيك
Das ade axluwu adach gugagan axluwu ach gugagan yeke yek kwau we esluwu ite ye yanach kek kwake yek kwau esluwu awe yan awe ayakawaka yakak Yéil.
Away, ye yawaka, yake, aqua, aku, adedak, wadakini, away, dakinawe, ayaw siyekwe, kan.
Yande dulluwu da nakon, dulluwu dak nakon. Awe tlelade adana guane ye agiwe dakach. Anawe yan dakin idu ayach kun. Yakwa.
Yuwe adayaka. Ayach awul eo. Chaltakat at ayayaniko. Ayayan han. Yan on ayawat lak. Yéil jinach yan ayasayek awe. Ya aski hude awe uwallet. Kaya waski hudetsu uwallet. Kaya teg hudetsu uwallet. We'll on. At aya ya as.
Budak an atu yeuti akakan kayawas ya te su han atu wooch urakadi.
Kat Johanna ke degi tu. Adu sa klesh na tuch. Gwell. Gwrdech wyach echosaka. Kat gwell cygwadu. Ycla ye yw yannig. Ke ade ti ye shkalneek. Awe wooch ke uwagan. We Yéil llwcwad yi we akkoa a itita wakoi nak through a choich sugar or has through with nak ka wake up. Cheese, Shuhan. Well, let's just get right into it. I hope everybody had a chance to read. We won't do it twice. Let's do it once. So picking up where we left off. So after the flood, there was no fire. Raven sees some fire like shooting up way out to sea. I do think it's a volcano. And he wants to get it. So he starts asking all the birds. And they say, no way, I don't want to. That gets us to here. It's a very brief summary. Let's go, translators.
They survive at some point.
The little owl.
We would probably need a subject switch. Like they'd have to say "kak" away, or they'd have to do something. So Raven went up to it or him or whatever. I don't know, they're kind of characters. Is the little boreal owl, I think it's called. It's got no tufts. It's very magical. It has 4 Tlingit names. Kak, Askatu Yekehwa, and Kushta Yegi, which I think, let's just honor those names real quick and take a look. So there is Kak, which is just its name, but then it has a name that means something. Askutu Kaikhe. Oh, you make me mad. Your funky font. How dare you, Proxima? Got nothing. Anything you recognize in there?
There's a tree at the beginning.
Basket.
So well, you have Askatu, which is a thing.
Forest.
The forest. So As is a tree. G is the stump of a tree. And then Tu is inside of it. So for some reason in Tlingit, like someone was just, you ever realize like, oh yeah, there's this email I haven't responded to. Somebody at some point asked me about Tlingit concept for wilderness, and it means inside the trunk of a tree. It's pretty wild to me. Like you could also say "askate wugut," which means they went hunting, but it literally means they went beneath the forest floor, which is also wild to me. And then what is the qayqi part? Oh, that shouldn't be. Anybody recognize that? If I say qayqi,
You all sit.
you all sit. And so this is because what I've been told is that is the sound it will make sometimes. It'll say askatu qayqi. Y'all sit in the woods. And then askatu hechwa or askatu yik hechwa, which this would probably flatten. This one was told to me, this one was in the dictionary. And then I think it was explained, I can't remember who explained it to me. But this one was told to me by Chakeka Irene Cariente. What is that?
Is it magic in the forest?
Yeah, spirit medicine. Hechwa is like a spiritual It's the application of spiritual power to help somebody. I guess that's how I would define it. And that also includes like the big speeches to pump people up. They pumped them up. But it also means like sometimes when babies were born, like long time ago, they used to do things to them, like tie a little pine cone around its hands. And then that baby will have really dexterous hands when it grows up. They used to do things when things were getting sick a lot. They used to know how to do all kinds of stuff. And that would be hechwa if it was helpful. And it would be hiu if it was harmful. And then kushta yegi.
Landdaughter spirit.
Yeah, oh, and that's tied to a pretty big story, which maybe we could look at that story. So you can find it if you look up Kayaaní, George Davis. There's a story called Kushtaka, and your little cup will be in there. Okay.
Kune, there's also the word sheech for little owl, but I don't hear it used very much. Do you know? It's underlined X.
Oh, gosh, sheesh. I do think it's maybe a different species than this one, but let me see. Let me see if I have a note about that.
It starts with an underlined X.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
I don't know. Okay. I'll go see my notes, but this is what I have in it. And I don't like that some of this stuff, like getting into the differentiation between some of these little birds and some of these different things, it gets into a real gray area. But I do have I'll see what I could find. I'll make a X'éig report next week. Sheesh for helping with this.
Yeah, that saw-whet owl is even smaller than a boreal owl.
Yeah, I think it's a really
They're tiny.
Mhm.
They had them at the Sitka Raptor Center. There was one there for quite a while.
Oh yeah, okay.
If you hold them in your hand, their little head will stick out, the top of your fist, and their little feet will stick out between your fingers.
Whoa. And then it's worth noting too that Sisk is the big owl with the big tufties. And some communities full on call it Zisk. So there's probably some relationship there between that. The moose. Yeah, right. But then the communities that call it Zisk call the moose Sisk. But that tells me like there's some relationship there, like the ʼatudli.átk, Yisikuke ʼatudli.átk.
Bat.
Yeah, it's a bat born out of the umbilical cord of the beaver. And the beaver sure looks like a compound noun that's ʼatudli, the thing below the black bear. So there's some deep relationships with all these things. We got to get back to our story.
Owl's nose was long, or before at first.
Yeah. The little owl's nose is long at first. And just like note that that's an imperfective verb. That's just kind of like tlingit will move back and forth between these things. It seems to be like sometimes if some information is presented that's really important, it'll just switch to an imperfective. Or if there's something that's just shifting in the story.
He's doing it. Or there, he's doing it. Working on it.
He's working on it. What do you think that's talking about?
His nose.
Yeah, he's working on his nose. And there's maybe other versions of this story. I think this is a bit of a condensed version. He could be working on convincing him to go out there too. We'll do the whole thing. This is a sentence. You ashru deo akausachat witeich koa. Gushtahin.
Oh, sorry, I had a question. I guess maybe you didn't understand it. What did they mean by he's working on his nose? Is it like cleaning it or like picking it or?
Well, I think it's gonna tell us in this next sentence.
Oh, okay. My bad.
And so like this ʼatudli.átk just means like you're working on it. Then you could specify what you're doing later. Like you could be working on a boat and then you say the ʼatudli.átk. And then you could say ʼatudli.átk. They're painting it, right? So you could specify what the work is afterwards. But this is just really, it's kind of a doing it around it type of thing. And then you could specify what it is. This is a good verb to use for working on foods. Like if you're doing the whole process of whatever the food is, right? So like sometimes it could involve the fish, the net throwing, the picking, the cutting, the smoking, the whatever you're doing afterwards. That can all fall under this, the verb. But generally, it usually means working on something.
Okay, goodness, cheese.
You anything we recognize in there.
I came up with the attached pitch to his nose.
So a kausachat is to attach things. And then teich can be one of two things. It can be either pitchwood, which is well, I guess it's wood that has like especially like if you have a tree that gets a big scar on it, and then a whole bunch of pitch gets on it, and then especially if it's southward facing and the sun like really cooks it all up and sort of gets it to really harden. So it's wood with a lot of dried pitch around it, and it's really good for starting fires, which is why he did it. The other meaning of teich is a sapwood torch. So, or just a generic torch, I guess, which people don't use torches very much these days, so not around here. Ask questions if you got them, or else we'll keep on going. You can teach.
Seems like he lit the pitch, but that doesn't make sense if he doesn't have the fire yet.
Yeah, I do think this is something like so if you have like, so you can say awa ach, and that means, what does awa ach mean? They heard it. But what does aya ach mean?
They understand it.
That would be chaya ach.
Okay. They regularly hear it.
It's they are able to hear it.
Xander has it in the chat.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so I do think that's what's going on here. Is so what you're saying here is pitchwood can burn, you see. So I guess I might say pitchwood is flammable, or it can really burn. Aqa'awetsa ye ashakawaja. Yuch'an tuch'an yitakin. These commands are very interesting to me because I would expect nidakin, but it's Yéil, so you could say however you want. Aqa'awe sa ye ash. Well, okay, let's do that first. So, do we recognize aqa'awe?
So after that,
Yeah, so aqa'awe is after that or and then. And then what happens when you add sa, a high tone sa right after it? You end up with only after that. So that's what the sa does. So the difference here is like aqa'awe is just generally saying like after that, this other thing happened. Whereas aqa'awe sa, only after that. So it implies like this first thing had to happen. You had to attach that teish to the to its nose or its beak. So only after that. Ye ashkawaja. Anybody find this verb?
he instructed him, or they instructed them.
Yeah, or it's like I don't. Yuch'an tuch'an yitakin. That sure looks like a perfective to me. I don't know, but we're not going to translate it as a perfective. We're going to translate this as a command.
So go.
Atuch stekatat du'ekatiyin. Yashingetani ya akshayich ayut Yéil. This is a little tricky. Atuch, sort of like aqa'awe. There's these things that are very much storytelling devices. And atuch is one of them, which I think is usually translated as furthermore. What is shtakatat?
Everything.
Everything.
And now we have not X'éig, but we have du X'éig. Tian. I guess if you had someone that you could do it to, which for me, I could say it to my kids for now and my dog. X'éig inati. What do you think I would be communicating to them?
Be truthful. Tell the truth.
Well, that would be X'éig. So this is not truth with X'éig. This is X'éig.
To be brave?
That would also be X'éig.
Is it like in it to put it in my mouth?
That would be X'éig.
Okay.
So this,
Like, but like for my mouth kind of thing, like not in.
Is it kind of like to do what he says or what they say?
yeah. So I would say everything used to be obedient.
Oh, okay.
So some of these things, they just have like special combinations. And so, but it's, you can use, there are instances where you'll use X'éig. You could say, there was another phrase that used X'éig, which was different than this one. But this one means to like everything used to be following his mouth, kind of like going after it. And so like there's kind of special meaning sometimes for both ʼaqa and ʼayach. So ʼayach would be usually like I did it like they said, or I did what they said, right? For example, if I arranged this room a certain way and someone came in here and they're mad that I moved all these tables around, or if you did it, for example, and someone came in there mad, you say, I did it the way X'éig told me to. And then they'd have to be quiet and leave you alone. I'm just kidding. But you could say, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, René, like where I got that from was that Kayaaní Shawat story, like Nakatlan, where he says, where Shawat Kega Kuati, and it's translated as they did what this woman said, like they always did what this woman said. Eh? So, anyways,
yeah, to like to be like their being is following someone's mouth. It's kind of how it like the logic of it, and then it translates. The other instances you could say kesh a'eqa I think that's how she said it, which is I don't like the taste of him.
What was X'éig in a tithan?
That would be obedient to me.
Okay.
That's why I said I could
Oh,
I can say it to my kids for now and to my dogs for sometimes. Because like saying stuff like that, a lot like English, like if you were to just say obey my commands, like you wouldn't say that to very many people in English, right? Like you kind of have like, well, unless you're well, I'm not gonna go there. Okay. But yeah, so this is saying everything did what he said. But there's kind of more to it as well. Because these stories are so fun because they say this right after everything else just said no to him. And so it's so fun because they're full of these like, and I think Tlingit really likes sometimes these logical little contradictions. But there's also this thing like the more complicated part is he could talk anybody into anything. And that's what's going to happen in this story. And so they'll say, I remember we'd start translating these, and there were points where Shikshani would go, there he goes again, right? And so he'd start using these hortative verbs. And then she said that was shukarchucht. He was, and I was like, what's that? She's like, it's just what he's doing. But that's another complicated word that means calling the end to the beginning, which David Katzig translated for me. But it also means to sing a song that requires a response. Like usually those love songs. There's one that say something yetki. There's a clan name. Like Klukachati yetki, Qanachtedi yetki, Kagwantan yetki. Those are shukarchuchts. And it also means to compose a song like that. So Yashinkatani ya X'éig ayu Yéil. That's a really interesting use of that. Because shkalneek is to make something. Usually, ʼatudli.átk is to whittle something, like you're carving it out with little bits at a time. But I think what we have, like, how would we interpret this though?
The world that Raven built.
Yeah, Kayaaní ya X'éig. Right, so he built the world, so everything's like tends to kind of listen to him.
is that cuff thematic in
Yeah.
X'éig? Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, you could have a guh conjugation, but that's a zero conjugation verb, so it wouldn't necessarily make sense. There is a rarely used second, there's a second ga. Anybody know what the second ga is in a verb? You see it like you see us-e and agas-e. That's where you usually see it.
Is that the one that's like to cook versus like to cook and eat right now?
Yeah. And it usually means for the self,
Oh,
right? But with this is one use of it where it doesn't, because you could say like they built it for themselves or they cooked it for themselves. But this one, there's something like that has maybe shifted in the meaning, which is how you get to like, we're gonna eat it right away, as opposed to like, if you said, I'm just cooking for myself, not for any other people, which sounds awfully rude to me. You know, maybe someone comes in, that smells delicious. I'm just cooking for myself. Mean, stingy. Okay. I always got to remind myself to keep my dock long. Dock with the kin ate ashkayach to shoot the kahat with tage. What is dock with the kin?
Is that he flew out there?
And then you've got ade.
where's it?
I think he heard him. Oh, okay.
And then ashkayach.
That's it. Listening to him again.
What's that?
Like well, like Raven had said, maybe because it's Ush.
Yeah, and so this is a case where like Tlingit would switch to Ush. We know this story is about Raven, so it's Ush will refer to Raven unless they signal it to us otherwise. So Ush is like this one we've been talking about, which when we go back into the translation, we might just insert Raven there.
It's what attached to his nose.
There. Okay. I do think I am going to shorten this one. I can listen to it some other time. I'm going to standardize it. And when you go from dock and you put day on it, you should go duck day. When you go dock and you put day on it, you should go duck day. When you go kuch, low tone, and short, and you put day on it, you should go kuch day. So they always go high, low. They tend to be short as well. Gwas tlach je duck day away ak sichat. Tlach je to walk chande. What do we recognize here? Maybe.
Maybe then.
Very. So tlach is like very. But then we get duck day, which I guess we've got to sort of talk about. So when we go into, let's do two things here. What are the things that are dark? What are the interpretations of this word?
Out to the open.
Otsi.
Out of the fire. Out of fire.
One more.
See doc woositon.
So then we'll say, okay, well then Doc is into the shadows or into hiding. What's our opposite of out to sea?
Or into land.
Into the forest.
Yeah, into the forest as well. Yep. And
Interior.
Or
yes, into the interior, inland, forest. We could use any one of those. Yes. Opposite of onto fire. I do think it can mean like to go up to the sky, but like specifically kind of being part of the water cycle, probably. And then there's actually two more that relate to your body when you're speaking. The first hint goes back to the song we were singing earlier. Daki shitsu yi jin. It's like in front of you.
Towards your front.
Breathing. In front of.
But this is like it's going that way. That is doc. Doc right? That, and it's for something to sort of in its motion. And so this tells me though that in X'éig, you're always standing where the ocean meets the land, and you're looking out at the ocean. So then what would doc be? And it's not kuch. Kuch would be to go behind your body.
Maybe above?
I think I guess how I would say it, towards the body from the front. For example, if I held my arm out and there was a big old rat coming up my arm, that would be taktiyanagit.
Yeah, does this depend on like this, like who you're talking to kind of thing? Like even if like there's like something like running toward my body, does it have anything to do with, is it from the front or is it like from the direction of like who you're talking to? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like it's always going to be only referring to yourself. So this one is a lot like ya and we, like your ya is your ya, right? And so it's sort of like that. So, and then the way I would think of this, the only way I could think of it is like if I held my arm out and then something went dock away from my body, and then it went dock towards my body. And I think of that because when I first was working on this story, when they say, "Gwash ya dakte away aksichat kach ya du wakhande," you got to put all of this one together, right? So if you say kach ya du wakhande, what is that?
Very close to its eyes.
So then when you come back here, maybe really dakte, it is attached. Maybe very, it is attached too close. And but you got to sort of like combine it with the next one. And this is where it's really interesting because Tlingit could do all this with these words, but English would take care of it differently. Like, I guess you would say, you would probably combine it all and say, maybe it was attached too close to his face. Not far enough. This thing had a long beak. This little owl had, and so coming back, this little owl had a really long beak. And so what this is saying is maybe it was attached too close to its face, right next to its eye. So now you can see where that pitchwood is sort of being attached. What is qashtut? Or do you know qashtu?
Pocket.
Yes. In a pocket. Adateen. I think I'll just, anybody figure it out? Because I'm happy to give it to you. There's this whole list of handling verbs. We just kind of looked at them. I don't know if we did a whole lot with them, to be honest. But so you take a look at like achjit, right? So achjit, hand me that compact object or abstract thing, like a rock. Achjit, wait. So then the verb is ti, which could be awati in the perfective. Achjit awati atlendana. They gave me a whole bunch of money, right? But when you say the rock, so coming back to the rock, achjit awati wete. To say the rock is lying there, you would say at teen wete. So every one of those handling verbs has a positional verb for something to be lying there. And so if you want to sort of like think about this is getting slightly complicated. So if we go to the C verbs, we're going to see carry. And we're going to get a whole bunch of them, right? And you do see this at closing, ya'anateen, ya'anasteen. These are all closing because this is how the progressive works. The progressive has to have ya or k or ye in front of it. It has to have the na conjugation in there. And if it's an open stem, it has to close with the letter N. Those are your rules for the progressive. These are all shown as progressives, which is really interesting because usually you're going to hear these in the command or the perfective. So for example, you'll say kuk achjit ti. Or, well, I guess it's because it's carrying. You could look at all of these ones, and I think if you look under like give, you'll see them. So if we look, here's a whole bunch of verbs that we see. Every single one of these examples are shown in a progressive, which is interesting, right? So you see ya, ana, all the way down. And then when we go through, we just did a story with this one on it last night. Okay. So these are the carrying verbs, a whole bunch of them. Tlingit loves carrying categories. Like that should just be like and when we have a whole Tlingit speaking universe, one of us will be hosting the, what are they carrying? I don't know what we'll call it though, because we got to pick a carrying verb, okay? But so then if we go down, it should be, I think it's under give. So now we get these same verbs shown with some slightly different things in front of it. And so the trick with carrying verbs is one, they are motion verbs. So that means they can change their conjugation depending on the type of motion. They could be, so you could say, for example, jide nate, towards their possession. But you'll see jit would do a T. right? And so it could go day or with the letter T. You could say, for example, I could say, way de awati. They brought it over there. And it's gonna be long and low because it's not conjugation, awati. But I'd say nechawati. They brought it inside. That's gonna be long and high because that's zero conjugation. So now we see a bunch of these, natih, awati, kakwati, and these are conjugated in a variety of different ways, right? So there's a command, perfective, future, command, perfective, future, or negative future. Let's see, command, or no, perfective, 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 perfective. Okay, so now we're going to get into, is this under lie? So now here's our position. So each of these also has a positional form, which is it's handled just a little bit differently. The reason why is a positional verb can only be in the imperfective. And all of these, the open stem closes. So here you have ʼatteen, and you have wait sateen, kateen, kasateen, ton, ate satan, tayit katan. They also love to have that letter T on there attached to whatever they are positioned upon. There's a lot, but just in terms of how these things relate to each other, it's important to start just sort of thinking about it. Anya nachtla.
I just had a follow-up question from something that was mentioned earlier about the other ga. I guess would it ever be used with like plus D classifier? And then like are they doing different things?
It will always push the classifier plus D.
Okay, okay.
That's why I
Okay.
think when you say gunashish, I think it's in there. Ga na chish, I think. Or ga I think gunashish comes from something about kesh, so it's gunashish, which would be it's not possible for me to do for myself, I think. Something like that. It's not
And that's plus D?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Which, Renee, why is ʼatudli plus D, I guess is the other, my forever question, eh?
Yeah, right. So I qashtut ayah adatin yanaqshuwu yakakhunt guvd. So I guess sort of going a little bit backwards, after he goes up to the little owl, that octopus nose or beak? Take your pick. I tend to just say nose all the time because it's all just a th. We don't differentiate between all like beaks and noses, I guess. I don't know. So now you have a dateen. So it's a plus. Now you have a plus D thing, which is interesting, which I guess you might say in a pocket, it is lying itself there. I don't know. Like, why would it be to be sort of plus D? In a pocket, it is lying there. Oops. So the short answer is this is saying one is where does Raven have pockets? Two, he just has this octopus beak in his pocket the whole time. what you're going to see is this is this, and it's so interesting to me the way that Tlingit presents stories, like really old school Tlingit. It is not a linear way to tell a story. Like it starts sort of bouncing all over the place, and it's the English brain, I think, has a hard time following. But basically, he's going up to this little owl, and he's already got this octopus beak in his pocket. And this is how he convinces him. Because what you're going to see, little spoiler, is the octopus is going to say, my beak is going to burn off. And Raven says, I got a better one. I got a better one. And that's how he talks him into going out. But yeah, I'll take a look. Like, I don't know why it would be. And I'll try and find other positional verbs about like, why would they be plus D? Like, what would that really mean? To be like situating themselves there? I don't know.
And I guess and I think we've touched base on this before, but why I keep asking about this plus D thing is because she says udati, tlich udati a lot, tlich kudach udati wade late. There wasn't much snow this year, and but she says it consistently, or that. So, anyways, that's enough out of me.
Yeah, no, I mean it's interesting because like when do verbs usually go plus D? Like some of them are just built that way. It's a plus D verb, like fishing, I think, is a plus D, and some of those other ones are and so some of them just are built that way. Some of them they go plus D to say I'm doing it to myself. Shchodzatin, I saw myself. Wooch tudzachan, we love each other, so that goes plus D. So when the subject is also the object of the verb, so the doer is also the one receiving the verb, then that happens. And then there's other cases like doing it for yourself, returning sometimes pushes it, grammatically, every time you say kuch in front of a motion verb, that should push the motion verb plus D. But I know plenty of speakers will say kuch uwagut, but I would expect kuch with the good, or yeah, kuch uwagut, but I'd expect kuch with the good. But then there's others where I'm like, I don't know. There's probably more to it than just those two things. And that's what you've got here. Translation work is so fun. It just continues to remind us everything we haven't figured out. Anything else?
Yeah. Is that gut in yak and gut? Is that just uwagut gut?
Yeah, so there is this we started noticing this goot as we were like working on stories and stuff. And then it's what's called a consecutive mode, where really you have the conjugation prefix, which in this case is 0, a minus I classifier, which is also 0, and often a high, I think the stem is long and high, and that means after. So you could say, after I came up to them, I asked them this, right? So it's usually about like a sequential events. Like after this thing happened, this other thing happened.
And the one that is in the consecutive would be the thing that happens after the other thing?
Yeah, it's saying
like here.
This is the one that's saying after this one. So after he went up to him.
Oh.
And then even though it's presenting this stuff first. And it's also very like
I see.
I don't know, like these Raven stories, like I don't know. It's so fun. I love these stories, but I also can envision a future where we don't mess with these until like year 17 of studying things. But I don't know. Who knows? It's a mystery. Okay. Okay, well, I know we're a little over, but Hada ʼatudli.átk. I guess like I usually say is like my. It's just like a mild surprise, kind of. Hada, too much. Maybe ʼatudli.átk. Fly out there. I guess doc is why you're getting a 0 command right there. That makes sense to me. Doc itakin. So you'd say doc gu, doc gu. Go out there, go out there. Like if you're supposed to go perform and you're nervous to get out on the stage. Emerge, doc gu. Or doc gu. Go out to sea. Your shkalneek. Yéil shkalneek. Kayaaní. Ade away Kayaaní yechwaach. Ade yitu shkalneek. Ach cook kawuti. Atling gunilchishawe yéil to cut you on. Gende yayan to duck yahatangi wooch to cut you on. I really appreciate the work you all are doing. I don't think that this work is too much for you to handle. I think you're all very smart. And when I listen to y'all reading Tlingit, it just sounds good to me. So good stuff, good work. Keep it up. We're gonna have a conversation on Tuesday or on Monday. I have to end class. Okay, this will be the makeup. This class went a little late, even though I started a little late. Class on Monday will end a little early because they're doing some proclamation, the city and borough of Juneau. They want to say nice things about me, I guess. So I'll go listen to what they have to say. And that starts at 7, so then I gotta get down there. But anyways, so it's springtime. I think we should talk about. Did we do plants already? I think we did plants. We did sea creatures. Okay, let's talk about just write. How about 6 consecutive sentences about a land animal? Just 6 sentences in a row that all tie together. You don't have to use consecutives and positional crazy. It doesn't have to be a big old crazy thing. Like, don't go Raven on it. He's too much. See, I think that's why he gets what he wants. Because everyone's like, I don't even know what you're talking about, bro. Just go ahead. Whatever. I don't even know. Okay. Cheese playing.
Cheese. Cheese.
Cheese. Cheese.
Was a
Ah.